My name is Raja. Welcome to the first class here in Python for financial analysis. Let's dive right into it. I work at Wells Fargo. My previous job at Wells was as a digital spy, and what we were doing was taking the information that our traders talked to each other with when they did IMs or emails, and we would analyze those for bad behavior. We were looking for things like secrecy or price fixing and price manipulation, things of that nature. Strings are just like that. They can come in single quotes or double quotes. If I said who and what is teaching, I could say who plus is teaching what, and it's going to say Raja is teaching Python for financial analysis. If I say don't do it like this, you'll notice that this is red up to here. That's because it thinks that that is the string that you want, and it doesn't know what to do with the rest of this because don't doesn't quite work. So this one's going to cause an error on that one because it doesn't know how to read that one in. But if I put a double quote around it, then that single quote here works fine. We can do the basics except for date time without libraries. And that's one of the reasons that I saved it for a little bit here. So Python does a lot of specific things, but you don't always need things like square root, always and everywhere. That's a math function. So is fabs for floating absolute value. So is pi and Euler's number E. Okay, we don't need those all the time. If I just run this one and say pd.csv, then I create a data frame called Tesla. And if I read Tesla, it's going to start. And you can see it starts on 2020, a couple days after Christmas, and it goes till 2021, day after Christmas. Okay, so, and this is how the data frame looks, and it just sucked in the CSV file in just a moment. Something you have to be aware of is it's got to be in the same directory most of the time.
Let's talk about Seaborn, which depends on Matplotlib. So you can drop down to Matplotlib and do more stuff with Seaborn if you want to, but it's just got prettier looking graphs, I think. And the winner for me is this gallery that it's got. So if you know what you want your data to look like, it's like, oh, I want a box and whisker plot. So you just start from this one, okay? You want this thing called a violin plot? Yeah, you got this one. You want a heat map? This will show you how to do a heat map. We're going to talk about a thing called regression here, and this will be one of our recurring themes for the rest of the class here. What this guy does, again, with a single line, is it plots everything. It also puts in this regression line, and the regression line is going to be closest to all the variables and give you kind of a predictive column for it. And this one nicely shades the stuff in a 90% confidence interval when it's going. It might be 95. I'm not actually sure about that. You can also do an LM plot, and that might actually divide things up kind of nicely. So you can say, hey, I want to give the brand a hue. Okay, so that almost gives you like a z-axis. In our case, it gives it to us in color. So you can see that the Radeon kind of gives it to us in this blue. Other is green. There's only one point that's green, right? And then GeForce is in this orange. And it tries to plot just the GeForce by itself and the Radeon by itself and the green by itself.
And when you're trying to persuade somebody, let me mention that a flat out statement tends to invite a contradiction. A good question instead can persuade people. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to suddenly make people believe everything that you're saying, although that's a good thing to be able to have. But asking good questions can sometimes bring that about. Okay. And I will misquote. No, actually, this is the Spider-Man quote. With great power comes great responsibility. So there are interesting things that are happening with this great power of being able to persuade. So let's use this one cautiously and use it well. I'd like you to note that for Seaborn here, right out of the box, if I just say line plot data equals GDPDF, without too much fanfare, it's just going to go off and plot these things. So there's my quotient, That looks kind of like a line. There's the GDP deflator. That looks kind of like a dotted line. And there's the gold price. And you can see that one kind of climbing up and ending up at 1800 or so. So what I do is, like, the regular thing that I would do in a do loop is I might, or a for loop, is I might start something as blank, okay, empty list. And then I might say what the range is, and I might say what I'm trying to output. And then I might try to append this guy, the squares, with that, with I times I, okay? So if I were to run this real quickly, I'm just going to get the squares from 0 to 9, okay? Remember, we're only going to 9 because we're 0 based, and we're going to stop before we hit that last one. Okay, now this does the same thing in one line. Now, the efficient frontier is that little graph that we've got, and we would like to vary the weights so that our portfolio has a low risk, but still maximizes the return. Okay. Now, remember, these things are fighting against each other. So you kind of need a computer to figure these things out. And lo and behold, that's why we have Python. That's where we're going to play with this thing for a little bit. Don't override the system. Don't say, hey, I got to do something because the system's just not making any trades right now. And I'm getting bored, or I need to have some excitement. So you might be like these two vultures here where they say, patience my ass, I'm going to kill something. This is popular in the 70s. And this is the first thing that came to mind for that one. So thanks very much. And we'll see you all on Thursday.